Imagine a word that contains an entire philosophy of life. A word that says you are not alone, that your joy depends on that of others, that your happiness is linked to that of your community. This word exists in Africa. It is called Ubuntu. It means I am because we are. It is a powerful idea that has spanned centuries and is at the heart of Pan-Africanism. Pan-Africanism is not just a story of kings and battles, it is above all a way of thinking, a set of values that unite the peoples of Africa and the diaspora. In this course, we will explore these values. We will discover how African wisdom, passed down through tales, proverbs, and traditions, can help us understand the world and live together. We will see that Africa is not a continent of problems, but a continent of solutions, a continent that has much to teach us. We will talk about respect, solidarity, sharing, and memory. We will travel through time and space, through the words of poets, the stories of travelers, and the teachings of the elders. Get ready for a journey into the heart of African wisdom, a journey that will change the way you see the world. What is Ubuntu? The philosophy of I am because we are. Ubuntu is much more than a simple word, it is a conception of the human being. In African thought, a person is not an isolated individual, but part of a whole. It is often said, a person is a person through other people. This means that our humanity is built in relationship with others. If you are alone, you are not fully human. You need others to grow, to learn, to be happy. This idea is very different from Western thought, which often emphasizes the individual, personal success. In Africa, community is valued. We share, we help each other, we take care of the weakest. The proverb says, the hands that give are more blessed than those that receive. But Ubuntu is not just kindness. It is a deep philosophy with practical consequences. For example, in a village, if someone is hungry, everyone is hungry. If someone is sick, everyone is concerned. No one is left behind. This solidarity is an immense strength. It allows overcoming trials, resisting difficulties. Ubuntu is also respect for the elders. The elders are considered wise, guardians of memory. They have lived long, they have experience, they know the stories, the traditions. We listen to them with respect, we ask them for advice. The proverb says, an old person who dies is a library that burns. This shows the importance of oral transmission. In African societies, orality is fundamental. Stories, legends, proverbs are passed down from generation to generation through speech. It is a way of preserving culture, history, values. Ubuntu is also hospitality.
A mark of respect and generosity. It shows that we consider the other as a brother, even if we do not know them. Ubuntu is a philosophy of life that can change the world. It reminds us that we are all connected, that we need each other, that our happiness depends on that of others. It is a message of hope and brotherhood. African values through tales and proverbs. Tales and proverbs are treasures of wisdom. They transmit the values of the community in a simple and vivid way. Let's take an example, the tale of the tortoise and the hare. In the African version, the tortoise wins the race not because it is fast, but because it is clever and uses the help of its friends. Each tortoise places itself at a point on the course, and when the hare arrives, it sees a tortoise ahead and thinks it has passed it. This tale teaches that cunning and solidarity are more important than strength or speed. It also shows that one can succeed through mutual aid. Another example is the tale of Anansi the spider, a mischievous character who uses his intelligence to get out of difficult situations. Anansi is often considered a hero, but he can also be an example of what not to do. Tales have a moral function. They teach children to distinguish good from evil, to respect elders, to be honest, to share. Proverbs are also very important. They summarize complex ideas in a few words. For example, he who has not traveled thinks his mother is the best cook. This proverb teaches open-mindedness. It says that to know the world, you must leave home, meet other people, discover other cultures. Another proverb says, the feet of the elephant do not break the ants. This means that the powerful should not crush the weak. It is a lesson in respect and justice. Proverbs are used in daily life to give advice, to resolve conflicts, to teach. They are short, easy to remember, and carry great wisdom. Tales and proverbs are often told in the evening, around the fire. It is a moment of sharing, of transmission. Children listen attentively, they learn while having fun. This oral tradition is very alive in many regions of Africa. It allows preserving culture and transmitting it to future generations. The values found in these tales and proverbs are universal. They speak of respect, solidarity, courage, honesty, generosity. They remind us that we are all human, that we all need each other. By studying these tales and proverbs, we can better understand African philosophy and draw lessons for our own lives, as epic memory and history, the weight of the past. Pan-Africanism cannot ignore history. Africa has experienced terrible trials, slavery, colonization, exploitation. These events have left deep traces. But African wisdom teaches us not to forget, to honor the memory of those who suffered.
Future. The stories of slavery, like that of 12 Years a Slave, remind us of the cruelty of the slave trade. But they also show us the resistance, the strength of those who survived. They teach us that freedom is a precious good, that it must be defended. Colonization was also a difficult period. Africans were deprived of their freedom, their culture, their lands. But they resisted, they fought for their independence. Today, Africa is a free continent, but it still bears the scars of the past. Pan-Africanism is a response to this history. It says, we are united, we are brothers, we must support each other. It reminds us that the destiny of Africa is linked to that of the African diaspora, that is, the descendants of Africans living in other parts of the world. They share the same history, the same culture, the same values. Memory is also a matter of respect. We respect the elders because they have lived history, because they are the guardians of memory. We ask them for advice, we listen to them attentively. The proverb says, the words of the elders are like seeds. They can germinate and bear fruit. By honoring memory, we build the future. The history of Africa is not only a history of suffering. It is also a history of greatness, of brilliant civilizations, of powerful kingdoms, of scholars, artists, philosophers. The empires of Ghana, Mali, Songhai, Zimbabwe, Congo were centers of knowledge, trade, culture. The University of Timbuktu was one of the most famous in the world. Africans invented writing, mathematics, astronomy. They built cities, roads, palaces. This history is a source of pride. Pan-Africanism invites us to rediscover this history, to celebrate it, to transmit it. It tells us that Africa has a glorious past and a promising future. Africa and the world, the dialogue of cultures. Africa has never been isolated. For centuries, it has exchanged with other continents. Caravans crossed the Sahara, ships sailed the Indian Ocean, merchants came from Asia, Europe, the Middle East. These exchanges enriched African culture, but they also allowed Africa to influence the world. African music, dance, art, philosophy have traveled around the world. Jazz, blues, rock, reggae were born from the encounter between African and European cultures. African cuisine, fashion, literature are now appreciated everywhere. Pan-Africanism is an invitation to dialogue, exchange, mutual understanding. It is not about rejecting other cultures, but about knowing them, respecting them, learning from each other. The African proverb says, the paths of water are many, but they all lead to the sea. This means that there are many ways of living, many ways of thinking, but we are all human. The
21st century, climate change, inequalities, conflicts, Africa can offer solutions. For example, Ubuntu can teach us to live in harmony with nature, to share resources, to take care of the most vulnerable. Traditional African agricultural techniques are often more environmentally friendly than modern methods. Traditional African medicine knows plants that can cure diseases. Pan-Africanism invites us to look at Africa with respect, to recognize its value, to learn from it. It also invites us to fight against prejudices, stereotypes, discrimination. Africa is not a continent of poverty and war. It is a continent of diversity, wealth, potential. Young Africans are creative, dynamic, innovative. They invent solutions for the future. Pan-Africanism is also believing in Africa, in its future, in its ability to contribute to the common good of humanity. Deepening the spiritual dimension of Ubuntu. Ubuntu is not only a social philosophy, it is also a spiritual conception of existence. In many African cultures, it is believed that the ancestors are present, that they watch over the living. Life is not separated into two worlds, the visible world and the invisible world. Both are linked. The ancestors are respected, honored, consulted. They are offered prayers, offerings. They are asked for advice, protection, blessing. This relationship with the ancestors strengthens the feeling of belonging to a community that transcends time. One is not alone, one is linked to those who came before us and to those who will come after us. It is an unbroken chain. This spiritual dimension gives deep meaning to life. It reminds us that our actions have consequences beyond our own existence. We must honor our ancestors by living a worthy life, by respecting the values of the community, by transmitting wisdom to future generations. Spiritual Ubuntu also invites us to respect nature. The earth, rivers, forests, animals are considered sacred. They are not objects to be exploited, but partners in life. We respect them, we thank them, we take care of them. The proverb says, "The earth is not an inheritance from our parents, it is a loan from our children." This means that we must preserve nature for future generations. This ecological wisdom is very current. It invites us to rethink our relationship with the planet. Ubuntu, in its spiritual dimension, offers us a holistic vision of existence. It tells us that everything is connected: humans, ancestors, nature, the cosmos. We are part of a whole greater than ourselves. This awareness can help us live more harmoniously, more respectfully, more responsibly. It is a philosophy that can inspire profound change in our society. To understand and remember the values of Pan-Africanism, you can use several tips. F.
Books, on the internet, or ask your parents to tell you some. Third, discuss with your classmates or family what Ubuntu means. Share your ideas, your experiences. Fourth, watch documentaries about Africa, its culture, its history. Fifth, write a short text about what you have learned and what you find most interesting. Finally, remember that Pan-Africanism is not just a school subject, it is an invitation to reflect on how we live together, to be more solidary, more respectful, more open to others. To go further, you can read books on African philosophy, such as Ubuntu, I Am Because We Are by Mungin Gomain, or The Tales of Amadou Koumba by Birgo Diop. You can also listen to African music, like Bob Marley's reggae or Fela Kuti's music, which speak of freedom, unity, resistance. You can watch films like Moulad by Ousmane Sembène or The Eye of the Cyclone by Souleymane Cissé. Finally, you can participate in solidarity activities at your school or in your city to put the values of Ubuntu into practice. Pan-Africanism is a path, an adventure. It invites you to discover the richness of Africa and to contribute to a better world.